We finally hear from Ariana in the Vanderpump Rules Season 10 finale, and she destroyed the Toms.
Welcome back to the Real Couchwives podcast, where we overanalyze all things Bravo.
This finale is going to go down in history books.
Oh my god, yeah. That was literally like the most insane piece of TV like I've just ever seen in my entire life. I can't believe it. Like, what are some of the things that like stand out to you the most from this episode?
There were so many. Well, obviously we got to hear from Ariana for the first time. We get to hear not only her perspective on it, but the way she just like super clearly articulated all of her emotions towards Tom. She was not putting up with any of his BS. That was amazing to me. And then also the way that Scheanna slams him at the end too, just kind of like bookending that.
And even the fact that like Ariana came after Schwartz too, like that was just like chef's kiss. Like so good to see that Schwartz like didn't skirt around and like fly under the radar once again, but also that James Kennedy prank phone call to Raquel.
Yeah, just bringing some like levity to otherwise very, very like emotionally charged scenes.
Oh my god, really intense episode otherwise. Yeah, we needed that little breathing moment.
So let's just get into it. I think we're gonna have to go scene by scene because there's just so much going on. We start off at Watch What Happens Live with Raquel and Scheanna. Raquel says that Sandoval is the hotter Tom, which starts this whole thing, and then we get a confirmation of the way that everything went down, right? That Ariana had Tom's phone at a show and she saw a face recording like sexual in nature with Tom Sandoval. They pick up shooting a few days later. We start off in Ariana and Tom's house. And it was brutal.
I know, it was really brutal, but I did really appreciate the kind of like throwback almost that we have to season 1 when Stassi finds out that Jax has cheated on her. So she like gathers all of her friends together and they're drinking his Cristal. And in this scene, like Ariana is like sitting there with her friend Meredith and she's like drinking like just straight from the bottle, like this like bottle of wine that she and Tom had gotten like 10 years before, like at like their like, you know, one of their first trips to Napa together. She goes into the whole thing and I was just like, good for you, girl. Like honestly, that wine is yours. You deserve this.
I wrote down the same thing. I was like, this is giving season 1 Stassi vibes, and I love it. Except for we didn't get a scene with Tom being upset that she drank it, which would have just like completed it.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and even like the satisfying part about Stassi and Jax breaking up is that Jax actually left the house after Stassi broke up with him, and Tom Sandoval does not seem to, you know, if you're not even able to stand up to what Jax Taylor was able to do and like follow through with moving out of the house when you cheated on somebody, like, are you the worst guy in the group? Like,
I know,
number one worst guy in the group.
It's such a good point. Like, dude, you were looking worse than Jax Taylor. Like, that's a big feat. But yeah, that was such a good way to start it. And honestly, this whole interaction was I was so proud of Ariana. Like, it was, I didn't even know she had that in her. Like, that was just so wild. He kept trying to gaslight her the whole time. He clearly wanted to make her look like the bad guy, and she was not falling into any one of his traps. Like, she was ready with a rebuttal. She was clearly articulating herself. She had like obviously a lot of emotion, but she really got across like how she was feeling, and she wasn't letting him manipulate the scenario. And I was just like, freaking bravo. Like, my stomach hurt. Don't get me wrong, it was incredibly hard to watch, but you were also just there cheering her on, like, from your couch.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, exactly. No, I know. I was so impressed by her. I think that this is like the first time that we're getting to see like a very authentic version of Ariana. You know, it's been pointed out throughout the episode that they've had quite a curated version of what their relationship was and what they were willing to show to the cameras, and they've obviously been called into kind of question because of that now. But like, I don't think we've ever seen her at the top of her game the way that we saw her like in this episode. And I was in awe of her ability to kind of like look at this situation and like fully understand, like, you know, she's already processed it. It's been 2 days. She's like in the thick of it. Like, she's still crying. She's still like, you know, dealing with this amount of like, you know, turmoil that's like happening within her of like, I love this man, but I hate this man. Like, he gives me the ick. He's done this horrible thing. And she still has like such a clear head and is able to like see things with so much perspective. Like, her retorts towards him were so on it. And I think if I was in that moment, I wouldn't be able to articulate myself at all. I would just be like yelling and screaming and probably like cursing. Yeah, exactly.
Screaming, crying, throwing up.
Yeah, exactly. And saying nothing articulate whatsoever.
No, you know what? That's such a good point. Actually, to your recommendation, I was listening to the Kate Casey podcast where she has an executive producer on. They actually said that Ariana found out on March 1st, and then she called she had a talk with production on March 2nd, and then by March 3rd they're picking up filming. So this is literally a few days later. You're so right. For her to have such an incredible perspective on what is going on is actually insane. Like her reads about everything, even like she picked up on the fact that Tom was trying to make her the scapegoat, and that he was trying to make her the bad guy, and she hadn't even seen all these confessionals and his little breadcrumbs that he was leaving for the audience. She just knew in those moments that's what he was trying to do. Her read on Raquel, especially, like that girl is looking for, I'm gonna massacre it, Lil. Like
that girl is searching for identity in man and has no identity of her own. Like demolished.
perfection. Even her read on Tom, like, you know, you got a little bit of money, you got a little bit of fame, and there's this girl gassing you up because that's what you want. Like, she read it perfectly. And the fact that she was in the throes of not only like grief from having her dog and her grandmother die, but also just finding out that your life partner has been cheating on you for months. Like, I don't know how she found it in her.
I couldn't do it.
No,
I couldn't do it. And even like just like the way that Sandoval like handled that situation, you know, I think it's clear to us now, having seen the season, having seen the Howie Mandel interview, having seen his confessionals, like how much like groundwork he was laying to kind of like create this narrative of what their relationship was like, and to kind of like lay the groundwork for her to be the scapegoat in the situation of like, she wasn't willing to help work on this. And there was one little comment that she made where she said like, we could have gone to couples therapy. And that was like something that like I think instantly like stuck up in a lot of people's minds, because that's one thing that he said in the Howie Mandel interview that they had done together, and that when they'd actually done couples therapy, she had gotten better. And that's why he like then couldn't break up with her, because he was like, oh, well, now she's acting all sweet and stuff. And it's just like, okay, so you clearly put out this narrative like early on to be able to plant these seeds, and now the truth is coming out, and you guys didn't even go to couples therapy. Like,
I know. He just got caught in his own lies. And you're right, he like, we heard exactly like verbatim what he said on the Howie Mandel podcast. That he also just had no remorse and no like empathy to Ariana in those moments. Like when she starts it off by being like, you still haven't apologized to me actually, and he's like, oh well, you were mad, like, and she's like, so let me be mad. Are you like, you should be groveling. Like those scenes of you crying and saying I'm sorry to Schwartz and to Lisa should be directed towards Ariana. And like the way that he was handling it, the way that he kept just trying to put excuse after excuse, it's like he had a checklist that he was going over of like all the reasons, and then like when she rebutted one, he would like move on to the next one. He's like, well, I had no mojo, and Raquel respected me. Like, oh, you know, like the respect you're showing your partner of 9 years, like you're gonna talk about respect. It was just like, it was so sad to watch. And then I don't know if you saw also on Ariana's morning show. Sorry, there's so many things.
No. Yeah, the morning show appearance with like Hoda and Jenna or something.
Yeah. I love that she was just doing this tour that like Tom Sandoval's for sure so angry.
Oh my god, so angry. You're so angry.
She was saying that like, you know, he had actually been yelling at her and angry for like the 2 days since he found out, which like. What? And then she saw they started filming, and he was like gonna start with this like sad sack scene, and she was like, oh, okay, like this is what he's doing, this is the story he's trying to tell. And she was actually happy when he started to yell at her, because now people can see how it had actually been going for them. And it's just like, it's almost like so satisfying to watch, because you could tell he didn't want to react. Like he was like, I'm gonna be sad and I'm gonna let her yell, and like she's gonna look like the crazy person, like the same thing I did to Kristen. But then she basically says like, your friendship with Raquel is BS, and that's what triggers him. He like he like that's what puts him over the edge.
I know. Well, you're right. And even like throughout this entire episode, like he's like wearing like all black, like he's like in his like emo phase. It's just like it's so transparent. But I was thinking about this last night. I was pontificating, if you will, about like why Ariana was like the one person that he couldn't apologize to. And I like it makes me wonder, like, is it that he's like jealous of her? Like, is it that he like doesn't think that he's done anything wrong to her? Like, is it that he's like he doesn't think he owes her anything? And I think, you know, we've seen that they had quite a controlling relationship, and like maybe he just doesn't see her as like somebody that's like worthy of even having an apology, like getting that kind of like that like that like satisfaction out of him. And he just doesn't like respect her, right? Like in the way that he does have to respect his business partners, Lisa and Tom.
That's true.
Yeah, I do think it is weird that he like or is incapable of acknowledging his bad behavior towards her.
That's a good point.
But like he knows he has to save face with his business partners, so he like has to apologize to them.
It's strategic. It just makes it feel like all the like, you know, I mean, besides his like insane performance of like scream crying, it just makes like his apology tour feel so fake. It's just like, I don't know how he hasn't apologized to her. And you know what? I've been reading this online, and I do feel like it's true. He's mad that she broke this narrative for him. I think that he was like putting in a lot of work to make sure that it played out exactly like he wanted it to. And I think he's literally mad at her that she took that away from him.
Yeah.
And I think he didn't expect her to react the way that she was in this conversation. Like, I think that was really shocking to him.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. I think he wasn't, because even in the relationship conversations that they've had previously in the season, like he's really been the leader of the narrative, and she's been the one to kind of like combat it and like bring it back in line, and like, you know, like kind of not share any additional details, right? Like he was the one saying like, you know, I wish we were more intimate, or I think that you think that I'm stupid, I think you think that I'm annoying. And she's like, oh Tom, like, you know, I wouldn't be with you if you weren't intelligent. Or, oh Tom, like, you know, I think you think that I'm annoying too sometimes. Where did I in your relationship? Of course you think I'm annoying. And so like this is just the complete opposite of that, where like she is really like leaning in on him and like going after like probably what are some of like very sensitive subjects for him, right? Like going after the fact that he's having this like alleged midlife crisis, which I don't know if I buy, because it's just like what a convenient excuse for your bad behavior.
You know, and every man turns 40. It's a tale as old as time.
It is.
They cheat on their significant others for 7 months. It's just the way it goes.
It's just the way it goes. Yeah, exactly. Men just biologically have to cheat on their women when they turn 40. There's like a spiritual awakening within them.
There's the mojo. It's just like Tom was right. They don't buy the batteries, you know, they don't restock the toilet paper. It's getting pretty bad.
Oh God, women these days. Well, and that was an interesting thing too that Tom said. He said like he kind of like looked around at his life and he's like, this can't be the rest of my life, which is insane to me, because you're currently you're filming season 10. Your life is currently like opening Schwartz and Sandy's with your best friend, owning a 5% hold in, you know, Lisa Vanderpump's like Tom, like having a successful TV show that pays you a good amount of money, having like this amazing girlfriend, and obviously like he doesn't think that he has an amazing girlfriend, but whatever, like he does,
like we do. So
yeah, exactly. We know you do. And having like a cover band where he's like going out and like feeling like a rock star and like capturing that kind of like emotion, and he's being able to fund that by this like lifestyle that's provided to him by Bravo and by kind of like, you know, ownership of this bar. The Tom at least was the one that was over at the time. And it's so crazy to me to think like that's the version of your life that you were looking at around and being like, this can't be the rest of my life. Like these are all very exciting things. How is this like not a good version of your life to be like experiencing right now?
Well, that's why it's such a BS like narrative, for sure. That's such a good point. And it's also like people get older, and like and Ariana even said like it's normal for you to like kind of have it like some fears or like take stock of your life when you get older, but like you work on things, you go to couples therapy, you don't cheat on your partner.
Yeah.
Like, he just has such a warped view of the world, and he
Mm-hmm.
always has to paint himself as the victim.
Yeah.
Like, he's always done that. He's always going to continue to do that, and he's angry that he's not being allowed to do that right now.
Yeah. Yeah, well, that, and like, he really just wanted her to break up with him. He wanted her to be the bad guy in this relationship, and her to finally have the last straw and leave the relationship so that he could get away with it scot-free, right?
He was essentially like baiting her into it. But that's,
he
another thing I've been thinking about too is he keeps saying like, oh, it was so hard, like, you don't understand. It was like climbing emotional Mount Everest, like, you wouldn't let me break up with you. Like, when she found out about this affair, she left that relationship immediately.
Yeah.
There was no ifs, ands, or buts about it. And like, she, you know, so one thing he could have done is told her about Raquel, and she would have left immediately. But that would not have allowed him to construct what he thought was this very good narrative and making himself look like the victim. So, you know, all of his excuses are just like so ridiculous. And I just love that she had a rebuttal for like every single one of them, and she just wasn't letting him get any of them. My actual favorite was, so F my friend, like, get your mojo back.
That makes total sense. I definitely see the logic in that. I know. Oh my god, no, I was just can't. Chef's kiss to Ariana.
He's incredible. And then the other one too is the any last words before we never speak again.
I know.
And then he starts to cry, and he's like, I didn't think this would happen. Like, what do you mean you didn't think this would happen? You didn't think it would happen as you were actively doing this for 7 months? Like,
well, and then what's so beautiful too about how she then follows up that conversation is that she's like, I would have done anything for you. I was your ride or die. I would have like changed anything about myself for you to make you happy. And like, just the like real raw emotion in that moment, and like just for the scene to kind of just be like, well, that's the end. Like, well, that's all you get.
I honestly think that's what was so beautiful about this conversation is like, you could tell she was trying so hard to keep it together and basically to be angry. She said in interviews too, like, she had to sit in her anger or else she was going to completely fall apart. Like, and she was going to be just like dry heaving. She's like, I'm not going to give you the satisfaction of seeing me break down. Like, I am angry and I'm going to get this out. And it's, you know, people were saying online too, like, it's so rare that you get to see that kind of just like pure like rage come out. And it's in a way that she's not being spun as the crazy one. Like, everyone is out there being like, thank you, like, this is incredible. And then at the end, like, there are still parts where she can't really hold it together, and she starts to tear up a little bit, and she's like, I loved you when you had nothing, and I would have done anything for you. And you just saw like such a breadth of emotion from her, and it was so raw and it was so powerful, and like it was really something to watch. Like,
that's just it. I think you're right. I think we're used to very explosive conversations on this show. We're not necessarily used to like that level of like raw like emotion. Like it's similar emotions, but like just it's very different, right? Like, we're used to kind of like the rage texts, the like screaming matches, calling each other out, calling each other horrible names, like all of the stuff that they usually get up to. But part of why this was so impactful was just that it had such a real element to it. It had such a vulnerable energy to it from Ariana's side. Like,
it was incredible. And then also to see her on her morning show appearances that we're seeing now, and she does seem to be in such a better place, and like she has just been phenomenal through this entire thing. She's just exhibited such grace, such poise. Like, we are here for it. Team Ariana, let's buy all the shirts. Like,
1,000,000%. Well, and even like, I was just so proud of her too, because her getting the coveted spot, like, there wasn't even a freaking bartender on Watch What Happens Live the other night. Like, it was literally just Ariana. Like, that's incredible. The fact that like, clearly, she's being rewarded by Bravo for waiting and doing this properly, and like having them have the exclusive like first interview with her post all of this.
And even said it. He's like, thanks for not doing an interview with Howie
Mandel. Yeah, exactly. And it's just like, wow, that was, oh God,
It was incredible. And
Amazing.
So speaking of the opposite of Poison Grace, brings us to the next scene, which is Tom Schwartz and Tom Sandoval. But before we break, the Disgusting Brothers,
the Disgusting Brothers.
Coined. Yeah, exactly. Before we get into that, please be sure to subscribe to the channel if you love the Real Couchwives content. We have to get to BravoCon. We have always wanted to go since I don't know how many years ago that it started.
2018.
And we need to get
to days.
Yeah, we need to get to 1,000 subscribers to get there. We're actually almost halfway there thanks to you guys. So please hit that subscribe button and we'll see you there.
Yeah. Okay, are we ready to get into Tom and Tom?
As ready as we'll ever be.
Oh boy. So we'll set the scene. Tom Sandoval enters in his, black leather jacket, his sunglasses because he can't be seen, his hair like mopped over like one eye. He's probably smoking a cigarette, and even if he isn't, he is emotionally smoking a cigarette. He's in his all black and he's just so dejected. He's had this conversation with Ariana. He's returned to Tom Schwartz's house where he seems to spend all of his time. And then Tom Schwartz, just walks up to him and like they have like this like awkward hug, right?
Yeah.
Like, Tom Sandoval has so much emotion in this hug, and Tom Schwartz is like, I'm standing here.
Yeah. And
I'm technically receiving the hug.
Sandoval just breaks down sobbing, saying, I'm sorry, I'm so sorry. Like, he literally has so much more emotion when he's talking to Schwartz than he was talking to Ariana. And not just emotion, but like to say sorry to Schwartz so many times was just like, dude, you are directing this at the wrong place. And then Schwartz also, like, look, I get it for Schwartz. Like, he put so much into this bar and it basically blew up his relationship with Katie. Or like, his relationship with Sandoval actually had like a huge, deterrence to his relationship with Katie. But that aside,
yes, yeah,
I understand that he's worried about his bar. But in this scene, it was the only thing he was worried about. Like, he was just so self-centered in this scene. He's like, it's bad, man. Like, we went from 4 stars to 1 star and yelled, like, can you say that I wasn't complicit in this? Like, I'm being canceled just for being your friend. And it's like, he was just like reading everything so wrong. Like, he's just lost the mark.
Yeah, it completely misses the entire point of like what's happening here. And, I'll give him that, like, this is probably not the first conversation that they've had since all of this has happened. But this is the first conversation that you are filming. And you've been on this show, even if you haven't been a full-time cast member, you have been filming on this show for 10 years. You should kind of understand how this works. And you should kind of understand that, like, okay, this is the scene where we talk about Tom having just had this conversation with Ariana. But no, in fact, this is going to be a conversation about, like, Tom Schwartz being really worried about his business.
I'm not convinced though that they've had the conversation that we think they should be having alone.
I don't think they've ever had.
Yeah, I think that's giving them too much credit. Because to be honest, the more that Tom just kept talking about, oh, like, you had a game plan, man, you just didn't put into motion. And when he was talking to Ariana, he's like, I thought he was taking care of it. It makes me wonder, like, does Tom think the worst part of this affair is that Tom didn't have time to tell Ariana that it was happening and not the fact that the affair happened? Like, that really like, he put so much emphasis on the part that Tom wasn't able to tell her and she got embarrassed.
Yeah, I know. Well, and also this whole Tom Schwartz's house thing is kind of like worrying to me. Like, I'm kind of concerned that it's gonna be revealed that Tom Schwartz knew a lot more than he's been willing to let on.
You think?
Because like, I feel like we find out in the Watch What Happens Live appearance, and I think we found it in like another like review or something, like appearance as well from Ariana, that she had been like looking at his phone. She had been looking at his location on her iPad. Like, she was able to kind of like track him. She was like asking him like, let me see your phone. She was looking at his phone, seeing his text messages. Like, Tom Sandoval was doing a very good job of like covering up this affair. And so for the fact that like every time Ariana was checking his, I don't know, maybe it's not every time, but like it consistently enough that she was saying like, every time I checked his location, he was at Schwartz's. It makes me wonder, like, was Schwartz's kind of like a weird neutral ground for Tom and Raquel to kind of like come and like hook up and like be together? Like, maybe was Schwartz kind of like allowing this to happen and kind of like allowing for a situation, like a space to exist for these two people to do that? Because also like the allegation that like Tom was at Schwartz's when they made the FaceTime with Raquel. Like, why are you so comfortable doing something like that in your friend's house? Like, we obviously don't 100% know what it is, but we have like a very good sense of what it is. And like, you would never do that just at a friend's house. Like, that's creepy.
Yeah, and not just that, but like Schwartz's apartment is not big. Like, we've seen it. Like, you would know.
Yeah.
What was like, you would be able to hear things. And even if you weren't able to hear things, it's just like, what do you think? It's just like, oh yeah, Tom and Sandoval and Raquel just went into my bedroom, and I'm just gonna sit here on the couch so that I can have plausible deniability. Like, I thought he was just showing her something in the room.
Well, you know, working on boundaries together, you know, as you do.
Yeah. It's not looking good for Schwartzy, man.
It's not looking good for Schwartzy.
He's going down with this ship.
He really is.
And just the fact that he thinks he's being canceled. Sorry.
No, go.
The fact that he thinks he's being canceled just for being his friend is like how we know that this person is not going to grasp it. It's the same thing that he's not going to grasp why Katie, you know, didn't want him to be hooking up with someone in their group. Like,
I know.
He truly does not understand his implication in this, or he's trying to convince us that he doesn't have one. But I think he truly doesn't understand it.
I think so. I know he really does. He's a man that says very big words sometimes, but I do think he's very thick. Like, there's just like, he doesn't always get through into his brain like why like 1 and 1 equal 2. Like, he's very confused by a lot of what's going on, it feels like.
He's very confused.
Yeah, but something that you said actually made me think about this, because you were saying I think you were talking about like how like Sandoval was saying that he was going to break up with Ariana, and like Schwartz was saying like, oh, well, you just didn't like get the timing right. It was interesting in that moment though, because Sandoval like says like, well, Raquel and I had to be on the same page about when we were going to tell Ariana. And I was like, oh, so it's already starting. Like, Raquel's already your scapegoat in this conversation. Like,
oh my God, it's so
you
true.
haven't even been dating her for 7 months, and she's already the scapegoat. Like, welcome to Ariana's world, Raquel. Like,
they're always gonna find someone else to put the problems on, for sure.
Yeah, always.
So that was actually brutal to watch. Like, the first scene was like, yes, queen, Ariana. And this was just like, get this off my screen. Like, I'm so done. Like, I don't
want to see either of you ever again.
Oh my gosh. Which brings us back to the girls at Ariana's
a lighter note.
Yeah, they're rallying around her. We'd love to see it. Even Scheanna and Katie put their beef aside for Ariana, which was also really nice to see.
And really, it's just kind of like the opportunity, I think, for the audience to get the sense of like what actually happened. How did Ariana find out? Like, you know, get that kind of like groundwork information, and then obviously get some information from Scheanna about how the whole like restraining order thing has come about, like what actually happened after Watch What Happens Live. And then Katie kind of drops a little bit of like a bomb about, you know, what happened at BravoCon, and how Tom Schwartz had made a comment about how Raquel wasn't there for him.
That he forgets later on.
Yeah, exactly. Very conveniently forgets later on. And like, you know, obviously the what's alluded to that is that like she's there for the other Tom, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, this scene was like cute. I think the scene was like pretty fun to just like kind of like see like the friends come together. You know, they break like the statue, that like the penis statue that Tom had gotten in Mexico like many years before. And yeah, I thought it was interesting to hear Scheanna's retelling of the restraining order. Mainly just because I feel like each time we hear this version of events, it's a little bit different.
Yeah.
I think with the version that like had kind of come out like when this was like still in the thick of it, like things were really happening, is like it was just a shove, right? Like it was just a little push, like nothing really happened. Maybe a fingernail kind of got caught in there. And then like the version that we see on TV is like a little bit similar. You know, it's got the extra layer of like, I had so much rage in me, I just like pushed her. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, and you know, she might have fallen into a wall or a fence or something.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, it's a new detail that we didn't know before the airing of this episode.
Yeah.
And then I was listening to Scheanna's podcast, and she had Danny Pellegrino on as a guest. And she said, I wanted a reaction out of her. That's why after she grabbed my wrist, I pushed her and I said, say something, give me something. And it's just like, ooh, okay. So each time we get like a little bit more information about what might have actually happened on this night.
A little bit different. True. But honestly, like, I still don't think for a second that she punched her.
Like,
no, I think she shoved her, and she probably, like, her nail probably scratched her.
A little, yeah.
Because even like that thing on her eye, like, is a scratch. Like, it's like, I don't think you would get that from someone punching you in the face.
No.
But it is true. It's changing every single time a little bit.
Just a little bit.
Like, the whole thing was ridiculous. Like, the whole thing was so
the whole thing was totally ridiculous.
The fact that Raquel took this to a legal level is so crazy. And then, not to jump ahead, we will definitely be getting into the cringy Raquel and Tom section soon.
Yeah.
But like, when you do have that section, she's like, it hurts.
I took it like a champ.
Like, oh, you took it like a champ, meaning you ran to the police and filed a restraining order?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, like, totally
took it like a champ.
Yeah,
oh my God,
I did really appreciate the Legally Blonde style. Like, I can't even physically make a fist like this.
This would break my nails. This would break my finger. Like, it couldn't happen.
It would have been really funny to see that play out, like, in court, though, to be like, the defendant cannot make a fist with her nails. Here's a demonstration.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, we wouldn't want to take up court resources, but that'd be funny. So we do find out more, like, about the playing of events. We find out that it happened at Schwartz's. Everyone is like super shocked, and I think it was just really nice to have all of the girls rallying around Ariana at this point.
I think it's really nice too to like see. I know that Katie and Scheanna had like a contentious relationship throughout the season, but I do think that like just from a perspective of like holistically looking at the season overall, like seeing a moment where they kind of like do put their differences aside is very nice, like from a narrative standpoint, right?
No, it's true. And I think they're like taking baby steps towards like mending a friendship.
Yeah.
The next scene we have is James, where Lala and Katie come over, and
oh my God, this was so good.
I actually wasn't expecting James to be so distraught over like the betrayal from Tom, and I think now I'm starting to understand a little bit more why, like, we're hearing and actually seeing that in the reunion, like, he is the one who's popping off quite aggressively and like almost gets into a fight with Tom Sandoval. At first I was like, where is your angle in this? But he just thought, he looked up to him, and he had a really close friendship with him, and he's like, he blew that up.
Yeah, I know. That was also an extra added layer of James's like personality that I didn't think that we were going to get from this episode, and I didn't think we were going to get in general, right?
And those are the pieces that make him relatable, like when he actually shows these like emotions.
I know, he like finally like breaks down the facade a little bit. No, James has had such a good season, and I feel like even though this is obviously a horrible thing that's happened, like I think for the most part, like for his like actual like story arc, like it's kind of great that we're getting to see like just his evolution and all of this, and our viewpoints of him have changed so much over the years.
Yeah, it's true. But so he brings up he kind of like prank phone calls Raquel, who answers, and it was just also so nice to hear him being like, oh yeah, you just like blew up all your friendships, and now no one likes you in LA for this dude.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and I thought it was interesting too, because Raquel, once again, she's like, James, you don't have a leg to stand on, or something like that effect, right? And it's just so interesting that this kind of feels a little bit of like a Sandoval in her, right? Like, you've done this horribly unethical thing, but because you like see that somebody else has done something unethical, you're like, well, you can't call me out because you're not accountable for your own actions, and you cheated in the past, so like how dare you like come and judge me? And once again, it's just kind of like, anytime there's an accusation against Sandoval, it's always met with a deflection. And this is the same thing in Raquel, of like, you've been like accused of this relationship, and now you're deflecting that like James can't say anything because like he cheated once when he was 25. I'm sure he's cheated other times too.
Yeah.
But the time that she's referring to is that time when he was 25.
It's true. It is a very Tom Sandoval. Yeah, but look over there. Yeah, but you did it too. Like, but it's like,
you're not perfect.
Oh, yeah.
Like, but that scene was perfect.
Yeah, it was really
so fun.
It was appreciated, especially because the next scene that we go into is the highly anticipated but cringe-worthy scene with Raquel and Tom. We see Raquel and Tom together for the first time, and they are way too comfortable being like coupley together. It's really gross. And Raquel, oh my gosh, like, Raquel, what are you doing? Like, this is your chance to grovel, to cry, to like show emotion. She went the complete opposite path. Like, she is leaning so far into this. Like, her and Tom are just like us against the world. Zero empathy. Yeah. Like, zero. Nothing.
Oh, I don't know. I think this one's tricky because I think that it's a little bit Raquel's seeing it as Tom and me against the world. I do not think Tom is seeing it as Raquel and me against the world.
Oh no, like, Tom is gonna like throw away Raquel the second she no longer serves him in this plot line.
Yeah.
But I just like, I was so disappointed to see that she just like, she was like laughing in her confessionals, like she's giggling, like she just like, she really doesn't feel like it doesn't feel like she feels the weight of what has happened. And I still think that she is just like the main character in the story that is happening in her head. Like,
yeah, I think that's fair. One thing that kind of occurred to me while I was watching this scene is Raquel is the age that Ariana was when she and Sandoval got together, right? Like, Ariana's 37 now. They got together 9 years ago. So yeah, so she would have been 28. So like,
oh my gosh.
Isn't that just kind of crazy? Like, I just think about like the way that Tom has been able to manipulate and like control his relationship with Ariana. Because like, honestly, you know, they talk about this being like a pact where they weren't going to say anything bad about one another. But like, I don't know what Tom could have said bad about Ariana, right? Like, I don't think that there were things that like she was doing that he could have like used.
She doesn't like stock the batteries.
No, well, there you go. That's true. She was an awful human being. But like, I think that like this pact was very self-serving on Tom's part.
Oh yeah, it's true. But also when they said that, I also made a comment to my boyfriend. I'm like, isn't that just being in a relationship? Like, isn't a relationship just kind of like an unspoken pact of like not embarrassing your partner? Like, why do you have to make a pact about it?
It's true. And like, maybe it's unusual in this group of friends where you do tend to humiliate your partner. But for the most part, like, yeah, like if you have any like decorum, you usually don't like air your grievances out in public in front of other people, and you just kind of like try to be like a civil couple. But yeah, I just think that like Tom has had like such a good job of like controlling Ariana and like putting her under a bit of a spell. And I kind of wonder if the same thing happened to Raquel in this time. And she's under this like illusion that like they're together and they're in love and this is amazing. And like, I think that that's something that he was able to string along, because I suspect that the confessional that she filmed admitting to the relationship happened around the time of the reunion. I think because if she disappeared from filming for like weeks, like she couldn't have filmed her.
It said that she disappeared after that, though. Oh, okay, no. So they filmed after the scene,
so they filmed
but they
that
didn't have
scene.
A confessional. Maybe
they didn't. So they might not have had like a pickup confessional for this until the reunion. And at the reunion, we know that she's still very much on Tom's side, and it's kind of only been after that she's like gone into this like mental health facility or whatever, and maybe now that like, you know, he's off touring and clearly like sleeping with like other people on tour because of like the TikToks and stuff that we've seen, maybe the illusion's kind of like crashing.
I mean, she probably will eventually come out and have like an I was manipulated story. It's just like, I feel like if she had any good sense, it would have been now. And instead, like, she went into like, she's clearly still under this spell. It just like, it was gross to watch. I also didn't like that when he's like, oh, like we belong in hell or something, and she's like, we don't belong in hell, like we're just two friends who, you know, started having feelings for each other. And it's just like, in her head, is that's the story?
That's the story.
Like, you left out a lot of parts of that narration of events.
Yeah, no, you're right. But even like this, because then he's like, because they're talking about like their families, and she's like, I had to tell you my mom about you. And he's like, oh, they must have been very happy. And she's like, no, they're not very happy. And then she asks like, how about your family? And she's like, under her breath, she says like, oh no, do you not want to talk about it? And it's just like, okay, so it's making very clear that like Sandoval like has like continued to operate with like a very tight control over like all of his relationships.
She's like, oh my god, I went off script. What do I do?
Oh no, I wasn't supposed to bring up your family. Whoops. Oh no, you don't have to talk about her if you don't want to.
That's so true. We totally caught them in that.
Yeah.
The other part that I really didn't like or was just shocked by was when she's like, like, I don't have anyone right now. Like, I just have my parents and you. And like, I don't even know if I have you. Cause like, what if you would do that to me? Like, if you were able to cheat on someone that you love so much. And I'm like,
yeah,
are these words coming out of your mouth?
I know. Yeah, that's just really unfortunate. And then his answer to that too was like so nothing. It was like, I believe in this moment or something like totally ridiculous. Like there wasn't anything up to actually answer that question or be like, no, of course I would never cheat on you. It's like, we have feelings for each other. It was just like,
and then they're like,
wow, so reassuring.
Yeah, like ha ha. Like, don't laugh. You don't get to laugh right now. What are you doing? And you know what? Like, I also really appreciate that even when Ariana's being asked, like, who do you hold more accountable? And she's like, Tom. Tom was the one in the relationship.
Yeah.
It's big of her to be saying that, and I agree. Like, Tom is the one in the relationship; he owes her more. But Raquel was a very active participant in that. Like, she was also playing the best friend, and she, Ariana said it, I think, in her conversation. She's like, the fact that she could be smiling in my face and then smiling on FaceTime with you is disgusting. And it's true. Like, he does clearly have so many, just like like problems with her self-esteem, and I hope that she does actually sort through that. It's going to take her a while to come on the other side, but like I hope she is in a mental facility and getting help, because like she needs help.
I think so. And I think that this is, I don't think it clued in until after the reunion and like after all of this, that she has put so much on the line for this like random dude, like this guy that you've known for like half a minute.
She totally did. Like, you could have stayed on the show as a main character, or like as a main character, just because you had made these friendships with these people.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
Also, her reasoning for why it happened was also so weird. Like, I just wanted to see what it would be like to be with someone I loved. Like, so you simultaneously are like shitting on James.
Yeah, exactly. Also, like, always a backhanded. Yeah, heaven forbid.
Yeah,
poor Jamesy.
Girl's going through something.
She really is. I did think it was very nice of the editors, because in the moment, when she says like all went so horribly wrong, like the leaked version of the trailer that we saw, like, has you like seeing her face and she's like smiling, and it's like, it all went so horribly wrong, and it's just like, what are you doing? And luckily, in the version that they actually aired on the show, it's like, but you don't even see her face. It's like from like, her, and you're like looking at Sandoval, and like you just hear her say that. So that was a pretty nice little like gift, I would say, from the editors to to at least give her that one thing.
She really didn't get the assignment. She just like did not come off as like remorseful at all.
No.
And then we move on to Ariana and Lisa. Like, it's just so fast. Like, so many things happen.
So many, like, let's get this scene in. Let's get this scene in.
I feel like what stood out with the conversation with Ariana and Lisa is like, she walks in, and the second she sees Lisa, she just starts to kind of like sob in her arms. And I think that's when it clicked to me that like she really was like trying her hardest to hold it together in that conversation with Tom, but like truly she is like, her world is crumbling around her, but like she's just so strong. And clearly Lisa has like that motherly, like when you're really upset and you see like your mom and you start to like sob, like you were holding it in until you see her.
Well, and you're literally like saying to yourself like, okay, I'm good, I'm not gonna cry, I'm not gonna cry, I'm not gonna cry, and then you see her like, oh no.
I feel like Lisa has that type of like effect on them. One thing I will say, I did not like Lisa's version of events. They were a little too nice to Tom and well, basically just to Tom, as Ariana had said.
Yeah, I know. I did appreciate that Ariana was the first of the two to get the audience with Lisa. I thought that was like the right move, at least on Lisa's part, to make sure that she was the one that saw Ariana first, and she didn't see Tom first.
Yeah. And she like hugged Ariana, and she wouldn't hug Tom.
Yeah, she wouldn't even touch him, and she until she had to like go like rescue him from like the glass door. But oh no, I lost my train of thought.
It's okay, we'll get into that section too.
we'll get into that section too. But no, like just like seeing Lisa like kind of like interact with Ariana first, I think it was a bit of a statement. And so I do at least appreciate that for all the other faults that I kind of like feel like Lisa had with that conversation.
Yeah, just like her confessional of being like, from what I understand, the physical connection wasn't where it should be. First. And then, along comes this beauty queen, and like she's clearly up for it, and like he couldn't resist. I was like, this is way too much of a boys will be boys type of framing.
Yeah, exactly. And also, like, it's pretty generous to call Raquel a beauty queen. Like, girls had a couple nose jobs. All of a sudden, she's a beauty queen. Like, come on.
I liked Ariana's retort to that in Watch What Happens Live. And she's like, well, she hasn't actually won anything. I was there.
Amazing. I love it. Well, even, have you seen the videos of, like, Raquel's, like, talent at this show? It's literally, like, her, like, standing on a surfboard.
Oh,
apparently that's her talent. I was like, I thought when I first saw that, I was like, oh, that's supposed to be this segment where they do like, swimsuits or something, and she brought a prop, and it's like, no, apparently that's her talent. Obviously, I don't know that for 100% certain that's what the internet is saying, but
oh my gosh, that's so funny. And then we move it right along because it was a very quick episode.
A lot of stuff going on.
Now we have Katie and Tom. And Katie, the second he comes in, she's like, what happened? How long have you known? And again, he tries to go off of his same, like, oh, I just found out like a month ago. And she's like, I
didn't put it down on a calendar. So I think it was like a month ago.
And then she pushes him and she pries him. He's like, okay, well, like I found out about the one night stand like the end of August. And then again, he goes into his spiel on like, my reputation is ruined and I did nothing wrong.
I didn't do anything wrong because I didn't do anything right. Power of omission. That's what it's all about. Plausible deniability, Tom. Go for it.
And this is where you see his like shtick that he's doing again. He's just like, like, I'm just a guy trying to get by in life, and like people are like, crocodiles are eating people or whatever. And she's literally like, what?
What are you talking about?
Like, Tom, like, just admit to the parts that you had. Like, if you ever want to come out from this, and if you don't want to go down with this sinking ship, you need to take accountability. But one thing that we know is that Toms do not take accountability. They just request it of others.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and they like if he told the truth, I don't think Tom Sandoval could actually like disown him. Like there couldn't be anything that Tom Sandoval could really do to be mad at him. And all that like telling the truth would do is like save Tom Schwartz. But he doesn't necessarily see it that way, which I think is unfortunate because we just want the truth. We just want to know what you really knew. And like hopefully we get more of a sense of that from the reunion. But like, I'm very frustrated with Tom Schwartz at this point. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to like watch another season with him.
Well, not if he's just
wanted to do better.
Like not if he's continuing to carry out that he just like didn't know anything about it. And it's true. And like, what's becoming more and more clear is like, how there's the famous like he's a battered wife scene from when Schwartz and Katie were getting married. Sandoval said about Schwartz in regards to Katie. And it's just becoming more and more clear that like Sandoval has had such a negative effect on Tom Schwartz's life. Like if anything, Sandoval is the one who blew up your life. And you can't put all the onus in Sandoval, but like you let him. Like and Katie even put it out. She's like, your friendship with Sandoval is going to cost you a lot of friends. And Tom's like, I don't think that's true. And it's like, it's already happening, dude. Like,
it's literally already happening. Well, and it's so annoying too because like Schwartz just doesn't see Sandoval's effect on him and like how much he is impacted by him. Like Schwartz fully let him go forward with Schwartz and Sandy's. Like Schwartz has allowed Sandoval to have like the vision, have the like all the calls that he wanted to make about this like establishment. And like it's been to the detriment of these two people because now their names are like intrinsically linked to this restaurant. And no wonder it's got like, I don't know, I think maybe it's up to like 2 stars or something on Yelp. But like no wonder it's been impacted by the fact that they were banking off of their fame and this is what's happened. Like
that's what a lot of people have been saying too. It's like I get it. You're like, oh, like we don't have anything to do with what he did. Like we shouldn't have to pay for it. Which like obviously that's true for a lot of the people who work in the restaurant. Like that's really unfortunate. But for Tom and Tom, like you made a conscious decision to cash in on basically like the excitement and the reputation around your name. Like both your bars are built off of who you are as people, and people come to see you for that reason. You can't like detach from it when things aren't going your way, but lean into it when they are. Like, it's just like, that's what you got to do. And honestly, kind of just to jump to the end where there's a conversation with Ariana and Schwartz, just because I think that it ties in really nicely here.
Yeah.
Like, she even says to you, she's like, he didn't care about your family. Like, he didn't care about you. Like, Sandoval didn't care when he did these things. How did he think he was going to react? Like, did he think that, or she says, like, did he think he was going to cheat on me and like nothing was going to happen? Which was like just such a powerful, amazing moment.
You know? Well, and Schwartz is like, he, you know, we built like a little family there. And she's like, he didn't give an F about your family. He broke your family. Like, don't come to me and be like, oh, we have a family. Go to him and be like, we have a family. Like, what are you doing in this moment? And I thought it was really interesting how that kind of conversation like ends between the two of them too, because she's like, I will not have mutual friends with him. And it just like clicked for me where I was like, we are back at the beginning of season 10, like episode 1 of season 10. Lala is like, I will not have mutual friends with people who associate with that man, referring to her ex-husband or whatever fiance Randall. And like, here you are again, Schwartz, like, you will stand up for nothing to the detriment of you. Like, you will lose friendships because of the people that you associate with. And you think that there's like, oh, well, what does it matter that I hang out with this guy? What does it matter that I have this bad business partner? And like, that's
such a good
point.
That's such a good point. Like, Schwartz's like refusal to denounce like these men who do horrible things is just coming to a detriment to himself. But he just wants to like be mad at the women who are holding him accountable to those standards.
I can't believe you have such a problem with me playing pickleball with this guy. I can't believe you have such a problem with me like having a business with this guy. I can't believe you have such a problem with me in general. Like,
that's such a good point. And then
so pissed.
Turning it back to Ariana, like the part in that scene, like she was just so powerful, and she just like, you know, she's like, I was his ride or die, and you could tell she like is kind of like tearing up a little bit more in this conversation than she was able to with Tom Sandoval. And when she's like, you know, like, I hate that I miss him, but what I miss isn't real. And that was so heartbreaking, like, and just so real. And I feel like a lot of people can like relate to that, and I think that's why the story is so captivating too, is like so many people have been in relatable positions. It was really powerful. And she also just looked amazing. I wrote down she is a phoenix rising,
right?
Like, she is glowing.
Literally glowing. That freaking gold dress, like, girl, you look incredible. Well, and even at the end of the scene too, she's saying like, you know, the reason that we were doing this whole like embryo thing was because I wanted him to have the option if he really wanted that down the road. And that's something that like, he's like gone after her like for so many Sandoval's gone after Ariana for so many seasons about like, oh, let's get married, let's have kids, let's get married, let's have kids, like really like nudging her. And like, she's always been the one that like didn't want to get married and didn't want to have kids, but she wanted him to have the option down the road. And yet the version of the narrative that we've seen from Sandoval throughout this season has been, I don't understand why she thinks that we want to have kids. What are we going to do? Have kids when we're 50? And it's just like, she was doing this shit for you, and like going through like the egg retrieval process, like all of these things is like, it's so taxing on your body, and she was still doing it because she wanted you to have options.
It's so true. It's so true.
Like, it's just,
he's trash. I'm sorry. Like, he's trash.
He's trash. And Schwartz is his co-conspirator.
His flying monkey, as Ariana called him in on Watch What Happens Live.
Yeah, I love that. That was so good.
We jumped around a little bit there, but I feel like there was a cohesion.
Yeah,
we do have to very quickly talk about Kristen's return to Vanderpump Rules, her slow pan up with her slides.
Loved it.
I thought there'd be more, I'm not gonna lie. Like, I feel like they could have gone a lot deeper in that scene.
I think so, but I remember what I was listening to so many podcasts at this point.
So many.
I don't remember who was saying it, but they were saying like this was like a great opportunity for Kristen to kind of like get a little bit of like a redemption arc as well for her. Like, so often she's been portrayed as the crazy ex-girlfriend, you know, going off the handles, borderline personality disorder has been thrown around a bunch, like so many different like accusations. And this was just like a chance for her to like come and be kind of like her kooky self, and just kind of like have like a nice little moment with Ariana, and get her return to Vanderpump Rules after the last couple of years. So amazing to get to see.
Yeah, it is true. Honestly, like just from listening to her podcast a little bit, she seems to have like had such growth that I never thought I would want to have Kristen back on my screen. But I'm like, you know what? I wouldn't be upset about it. And I think she handled the situation really nicely. And it was nice to see Ariana be like, you know, I defended him for 9 years, and it was kind of like to your detriment. And she's like, pish posh about me.
Don't even worry about it.
So moving along, we'll see if we're gonna get more of Kristen. Like, do you want to see Kristen back? Like, what were your thoughts on that? We finally get to Tom and Lisa. I love that Lisa right away is like, you know, Ariana's already been here, where I think like Tom Sandoval's already like, oh gosh, like now I have to turn it on.
Yeah, I really gotta grovel.
The main thing I just want to say about this scene is I cannot with the theatrics of this man.
No.
It was okay, wondering how you read it. Seemed so fake to me.
Oh, so fake.
Okay.
Oh my God. It was without doubt.
It was so wild. And then like when he literally, I feel like she starts to try to hold him accountable a little bit. Like, I think, you know, he's like, you know, it's hard because like Ariana doesn't trust people. And she's like, well, what do you think this is going to do? Like, do you think this is trust?
That was so good. Yeah.
And when he starts to be held accountable a little bit, he starts to cry. It's not working. He goes to the freaking walls and starts like, crying like, oh God, why? It's the James scene, why?
You know, oh my God, it was totally overacted. It was so atrocious. Like it was, and I think that the thing is with both the Schwartz scene and the Lisa scene, he knows that they're as his business partners, they're going to give him the opportunity to do this, right? They're going to give him the opportunity to have this explosive reaction, and literally nobody else would like stand for this. Like Scheanna, if she had seen him do that, she would have been like, these are fake tears, like what are you doing? Ariana 100% would have called him out on it. Like Tom and Lisa were the only people that were going to allow Sandoval to like have this like explosive reaction and be like, oh, they're there, we're gonna be okay.
They're tied to him financially, like they like I understand that, but like I did still just want like I wanted Lisa to just like not give into him as much, and even at the end she's like, you know, you did a bad thing, you're not a bad person. I think to my television I went, no, he's a bad person.
No, he is a bad person.
You didn't do a bad thing one time, you did a bad thing throughout like, 7 months.
7 months and like the 10 years before that too. So one thing that he said is we were gonna tell her before the reunion because like Raquel and I didn't want, and this just is like so incredulous to me because I like this version of this story has changed so many times. You told Howie Mandel that you had broken up with her like a bunch of times, like you guys were done, and like somehow she was still at your concert like 3 weeks after you guys broke up. They broke up on Valentine's Day. Like the story just keeps on changing, and it's so convenient that you were going to tell her before the reunion now that we know that it's already come out, because 100% you were not going to tell her before the reunion. You were going to tell her after the reunion. She would have defended you guys would have like gone off into the sunset and you would have broken up after, maybe, or you were going to continue to try to push her to break up with you. Anyways, okay, that's why.
No, 100%. It was ridiculous, honestly.
It was so ridiculous. It was so ridiculous. But I think we had to get to the last scene, which is just even more ridiculous.
Oh, you know what? I actually really appreciated the last scene. I thought Scheanna absolutely slammed Tom Sandoval. It was so amazing to see. This is Scheanna's redemption for standing up to Raquel the entire season. She honestly, like, I also didn't know she had it in her. Like, she also was not letting Tom get away with like anything, and she also was able to out yell him, which is what he needs to have happen, but in such an articulate way. Like, she made such good points. I was like, bravo.
Yeah, I know. That's just it. I feel like we've really seen the OGs of this season, or kind of like of this series, like shine this season, right? Like we saw Katie completely go after like Raquel in like just the most best way of what like was supposed to be the original season finale,
right?
And then we saw like Ariana like do it to Sandoval at the beginning of this episode, and now seeing Scheanna like do it and having those moments like bookended too was just like so perfect. They really know how to like actually do this, and they've proved once again like why they are the champs, right? Like why they are the people that have like stayed out here the entire time and like continue to just like excel. Like
it's so true. And you also realize, like, I know obviously Scheanna has looked really bad this whole entire season, but she is also losing a lot from this scenario, right? Like she was best friends with Sandoval. She was best friends with Raquel. These two people completely betrayed her number one best friend, Ariana, and she knows that she looked like an idiot the entire time. And you really felt that at the end when she's like, you know what, like we're not friends anymore. I can't stand for anything that you've done, and I'm really gonna miss you. But you don't deserve friends right now. Like you can feel her pain in that. Like it was really powerful.
No, I think you're right. I think the way that Scheanna like wore her heart on her sleeve in this moment is very similar to what we've seen from Ariana throughout the episode too. Like just the real emotions that these two people like really tapped into, like made the episode so different from what we kind of like thought it was going to be, right?
Yeah.
Like this was so much more emotional than I thought it ever could have been.
Yeah. And like
I did not expect it.
Not only tapping into their emotions, but being able to articulate them in such like a concise and like powerful way.
Yeah.
It was like a masterclass. It was also like the way that, you know, at the very end, Tom brings up, which I hate that he keeps doing this. He brings up that, you know, Ariana apparently was threatening her life. Yeah. And you know what? Scheanna doesn't even let him sit in that for a very moment. He's like, so you know what you do? You bring in her family and you let us pick up the pieces that you left, like we're doing right now.
Yeah. Yeah. I know. It was like a mic drop. Like, this was so good. I know. That's just it. Like, she really was able to kind of like take every kind of like little trick that he was like pulling out from his like book. And just like, he's like, well, she knew about Miami Girl the entire time. And she's like, I don't care.
Justice for Miami Girl. We also got that.
I know. It was very satisfying. And like, yeah, as you say, like you know, like, oh, she was gonna kill herself. I didn't know how to do this. Like buying a house was a band-aid. Like all these things. Scheanna was like, well, that's stupid. No, like you call in your friends, you call in your family, like you don't buy a house with somebody. Like she just had like something to say to each thing, and that was what was also so great to
the
see.
One-liners were amazing. Or the you know, I was gonna break up with her regardless, and she's like, but you didn't. You effed her best friend instead.
Yeah.
Put that on a shirt.
Right.
Yeah, the women destroyed this episode.
They really did. They demolished.
Like, they were so incredible, and honestly, you'd have to give them so much kudos because, like you said, like they tapped into raw emotion. They were so powerful in their delivery. It was so raw and real. Like, this is why they are the OGs.
Yeah, it really is. Well, and it's interesting too to think of like, you know, what we saw last week as what we thought we were going to have as like the season finale. Like that was like a series wrap up, right? Like that was like, you know, Lisa giving a nice, beautiful speech. Yeah, I think Reality Bites kind of like led to that assumption on my part, at least. And then to see this, and it's just like, wow, there's like completely new life that has just been breathed into this story. And we just like have so much more to see now after that. It's very thrilling.
Yeah, honestly, bravo to all involved except for the Toms and Raquel.
Except for the Toms. Yeah, get out of here.
Let us know.
Demoted.
Demoted to friend of.
Yeah.
A la Real Housewives. Let us know what you guys thought. Did your stomach hurt the entire time as well? Yeah. What do you hope happens next year? Yeah. We're gonna keep it coming with the reunion, so this train ride is not over.
Because there has been like one little tidbit that's been dropped about like how there's gonna be something explosive that comes out of the reunion of like who's gonna like, you know, people might not want to come back after they find out this information. So let us know what your theories on what you think that is too, because I'm really curious to know what people are thinking.
Yeah, apparently people were still lying during the reunion. So
exactly.
never ends. Our detective glasses are still on.
Always.